Hello, my name is Jason Adrian. Today is 5/3/2025, and this is my Aging and Disease lab videotape assignment. So I'm going to start by answering some preliminary questions, and the first preliminary question is, what is skin cancer? Skin cancer is essentially uncontrolled growth of skin cells, and the main cause of it is damage from UV radiation, and UV radiation comes from the sun or from tanning beds, and these two forms of UV radiation actually directly damage the DNA, and it causes a mutation in the DNA that leads to uncontrolled cell growth. The next question is, what are the symptoms, causes, and risk factors associated with skin cancer? So to answer the first part, the symptoms of skin cancer are relatively generic. It's pretty hard to identify skin cancer, but they sometimes include abnormal looking moles or sores that don't heal, and those moles and sores can itch, they bleed, they look unusual, look abnormal. It's not an exact science, as I mentioned, but those are some of the symptoms. The main cause of skin cancer is excessive UV radiation, as I mentioned earlier, and some of the risk factors include a family history of skin cancer, fair skin, excessive sunburns. Those are just a few of the risk factors associated with skin cancer. The next question is, what measures can be taken to avoid skin cancer? The main one is applying sunscreen throughout the day when you're in the sun a lot, and that's SPF 30 or higher. Some of the other measures include wearing protective clothing, finding shade if possible, and then the last one is going to a doctor or to a professional to get regular skin checks to see and examine any abnormal moles or how moles change, and just to get evaluated overall. The fourth question is, what is the role of ultraviolet light in increasing the chance of developing skin cancer? UV light causes damage directly to the DNA of skin cells, especially UVB light. And the more you're exposed, it increases the chances that a mutation happens within the DNA, causing uncontrolled cell growth. So UV light is directly associated with skin cancer, and the more you get exposed, the higher the chances that skin cancer can develop. Lastly, how might the effects of UV be avoided? As I mentioned before, sunscreen, wearing protective clothing, finding shade are all great measures to avoid the effects of that UV light. But lastly, the thing that I didn't mention was tanning beds. Tanning beds actually use a lot of UVB light, which is the most common form of UV light that is associated with sunburns and the development of skin cancer. So avoiding tanning beds is also a great way to avoid the harmful effects of UV light. So moving on to the experiment, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sunprint paper here. I'm going to measure 5 by 5 centimeter squares using this ruler, and then I'll cut those squares out. And then once I'm done with that, I'll be back. So now I have my three squares, and then I have my three resealable bags, and I labeled them Control 30 and 50, and it's for SPF 30 and SPF 50. And then I'm gonna put the squares inside the bag, and then I'll put sunscreen on top of the bag, and then I'll put them in the sun to gather the UV rays. I'll be back once I've done that. So now I have my bags labeled and the suntan lotion on top of them, or the sunscreen on top of them, and I'm going to go put them out in the sun for 5 minutes. So after leaving the squares in the sun for 5 minutes, I rinsed them underwater, left them for 30 seconds in the water, and then pulled them out of the water, let them dry, and then these are the results. So this is the control, just regular blue, and you can kind of see it's a little bit lighter than the original one, but nothing really changed with that one. This one was the SPF 30. The SPF 30, I kind of caked it on in some spots, so that's why there's some blue here and blue here, but overall, like over the center here, it's pretty much white, and there's still some blue shading within it, but other than that, not like it did protect the sun paper from a lot of damage. And then SPF 50 here is almost all white. You can see kind of some blue. I know not really on the camera, you can't really see it too much, but You can kind of see some blue in the SPF 50 sample, and there is a distinct difference between the control SPF 30 and SPF 50. And those are the results of my experiment. Thanks for listening.